Let us now continue and hear from Swamiji how he analyzes Pratipaksha Bhavana. When you focus only on the glimpses of saintliness in another person, all the other traits you have observed in him are attributed merely to error, mistake, habit, wrong thinking, wrong environment, and wrong upbringing. You take it as your blessing that you are not in the same position that he is in. With the same parentage, the same environment, your own behavior would be what you object to in him. You see behind the acts the person possessed of all the saintly qualities, because innately these qualities are the human qualities. Saintly qualities are the qualities of the self, the qualities that really constitute human nature. The opposite qualities are incidental, they come and go. When resentment, dislike, hatred towards someone arises, introduce thoughts that are their opposite. See the person behind the action from an opposite viewpoint, and you will discover in yourself some sympathy or understanding for that person. Your attitude will be one of kshanti, accommodation towards him or her. In this manner, by deliberate, consistent practice, any resentment, any hatred that appears is erased, cleansed on a daily basis. Swamiji moves on to the next topic, the ashaucha of selfishness. Selfishness provides a good example of ashaucha that yields to pratipaksha bhavana. In the case of selfishness, the pratipaksha bhavana thoughts often can be reinforced by action as well. When I see myself inconsiderate to the wants, needs, happiness of others, I can consciously program myself to overdo in the opposite direction. Let me repeat that sentence. Very vital. When I see myself inconsiderate to the wants, needs, happiness of others, I can consciously program myself to overdo in the opposite direction. To overdo in the opposite direction. Making myself alert to the needs and happiness of those around me, I can find ways to be considerate. Whenever I can do something that will compensate some selfish omission or commission on my part, I do so. It not only settles and frees my mind from that account, but also underlines by deliberate action the attitude of unselfishness that I wish to develop. When a decision to change an attitude is well expressed physically, that is, confirmed by action, it is hard for the negative opposite attitude to register in the mind again. When a decision to change an attitude is well expressed physically, that is, confirmed by action, it is hard for the negative opposite attitude to register in the mind again. One has to do a lot of contemplation when we study these values with the guidance of Poojya Swamiji. Poojya Swamiji then goes on to analyze the ashaucha of self condemnation. Universal ethical values, consciously or unconsciously, remain as a matrix for self judgment of any thought or action that transgress their standards. Whenever I fail to abide by a general value, some conflict usually registers in my mind. Conflict becomes guilt, and guilt turns into an underground chorus of self condemnation. Ashaucha, subtly pervading my mind. Self condemnation can be called subtle ashaucha because to many it is not apparent that self condemnation is antara ashaucha, mental uncleanliness. In fact, those who are unaware of the truth of the self may regard self condemnation as a useful goad to prod us to change our nature. This is not a correct or useful understanding of ourselves or of the term self condemnation. Condemnation of oneself cannot be justified any more than condemnation of others. Both rest upon the faulty understanding of the self. Both produce turmoil in the mind. Self condemnation can be controlled by pratipaksha bhavana, by refusing to condemn myself while at the same time deliberately thinking non self condemning thoughts. Non self condemning thoughts. Analysis of the nature of self condemnation will help me exercise pratipaksha bhavana. On analysis, I will always find that in this body mind package, which I term I, the body that carries out the act cannot be condemned. The hands, the legs, the feet, the tongue, and all the other parts of the body are inert jada. The body itself lacks self consciousness or independent will. Similarly, the senses and the various functions of the body are not independent. They are not independent conscious processes. Performing their jobs indiscriminately, either automatically or upon direction from the mind, they cannot be held culpable. Neither can the mind be labeled the culprit. The mind is not a simple, definable entity, but is an ever changing aggregate of thoughts in motion, some beautiful, some not beautiful, and some useful and some inconsequential. The mind that thought the thought, which led to the act that I condemn, is now the same mind that thinks the thought that condemns the mind that thought before. Let me repeat that sentence. The mind that thought the thought which led to the act that I condemn is now the same mind that thinks the thought that condemns the mind that thought before. Thus, the mind is an aggregate of available thoughts at a given point in time in an ongoing process characterized by constant change. The mind is only a process that performs as a useful instrument. It cannot be condemned. Then what can be condemned? Can Atman, the name for first person singular I, be condemned? From the scripture, Shruti, I know that Atman illumines the mind. Atman is Satchidananda, boundless, timeless awareness, fullness, form free, and action free. Being neither the doer nor the enjoyer, neither a karta nor a bhokta, the Atman cannot be blamed. Therefore, what can I condemn? I can condemn just a given thought. Neither my body, nor my mind, nor my Atman. If there is anything that justifiably can be condemned, it is but a given thought born of ignorance and error, a thought that ordered an improper action. Thus, if self condemnation is analyzed properly and we inquire into what does what, the result will not be condemnation of the self, but condemnation, if any, of an act simply for what the act is, and of the particular error born thought behind the act. Let us pick up the thread of this wonderful analysis in the capsules to come and take the reading forward. Hari Om. Om Durjana Sajjano Bhuyad Sajjana Shanti Mapnuyad Shanto Muchyeta Bandhebhyah Muktaschanyan Vimochayet Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om